We have a bunch of listener questions. There's probably like 30 listener questions. So let's see if we
Okay.
can get through these. All right. Thank you, listeners, for waiting. Um, okay. So, what if it's that we feel things spinning and we feel like we are shaking, but we don't even know why? So, I think it's that sometimes these feelings of worry and doubt and fear become so overwhelming. So, this person is, what if we feel things spinning and we don't like, where we are shaking and we don't know even know why?
Right. Well, ultimately, deep down, we fear uncertainty because we don't feel we're okay. So if we're going to dig past every fear, we're going to dig past every worry. That's where we're going to get to. That core thought is, I'm not okay. I'm not safe. There's
Mm-hmm.
something, even if you don't know what it is. So what I would
Mm-hmm.
do in this moment is I would actually close my eyes and I would sit, and my mantra would be, maybe everything is okay. And if I'm so
Mm.
afraid of this moment, maybe I'd switch and say, maybe everything is going to be okay. So what I'm going to do is going to access this place where I realize that there's this possibility, there's this light, there's this hope. I might not feel it totally, I might not know it totally, but life has maybe. And if you sit and you breathe this in and out, your body is going to settle. It's going to settle because some of that fear is going to shift. Because the reason we don't feel okay is there's something, even if we don't know exactly what it is, there's something making us feel not safe. That
Mm.
life's not going to change. That we're not going to have what we want. That things are not going to turn around in our life, and maybe reminds us that we don't know that for sure. And with maybe it'll get better. Maybe things are good. Maybe I can accept this. So if you just sit there and your mantra is, maybe everything's okay. Maybe I'm okay. Again, maybe I'm okay. Let a little light in. Give yourself a different type of thought. What's usually happening also is people start to panic because, again, they're starting to battle between the positive and the negative. People wake up in the morning and they want to be happy. Like I said, I'm going to land this client. My kid's going to make the play today. And when those things don't happen, we start to shudder and shake because we're afraid that we're doomed. But with maybe,
Mm.
we remind ourselves, well, maybe I'll get another client, or maybe my child will make a play another time. So again, there's this lack of okayness going on when we're
Mm-hmm.
worried.
Right. So if you just
So
focus on the root problem, which is maybe things will be right, the root problem is maybe things won't be okay. So you're trying to
right,
like basically
yeah,
balance out this like dark place where maybe
right.
things won't be okay to a little light in which like maybe we'll be okay, maybe it won't
Maybe
be okay.
okay. Again, that's
Yeah.
the little hope, right? Like maybe everything is okay. And maybe what's interesting too is, even though we don't like what's happening, maybe everything is still okay. That's the
Yes.
interesting thing too. Sometimes we let this one thing in our life make us believe that life's not okay. And that's a really, difficult place to be, especially like when we're dealing with a loss of a job, or something happens with our child. But maybe everything is okay, or maybe everything is still okay. What it just grounds us, because the spin stops
Right.
when you kind of let a little light in to the fact that maybe it is okay. And again, it sounds tricky, but I ask the listener to just try, because remember what maybe does, it takes us from this little cramped place in our mind that's so dark, that's making us believe that things can never be different. And it's reminding us that maybe they can be. It's just
Mm.
this little hope. And the more you sit in that hope, the more you're going to relax, the more you're going to open up, and the more you're going to start to see that life has more hope and possibility. And also that exercise, that we went over in the beginning, in the first chapter of the book, also very profound, to ground you. There's something, when we're shaking, we're believing it
Yeah,
ain't
we're
going to change, it
spinning
ain't
out of
better.
control. We only see one
Yeah.
perspective. And then the follow up question related to that, because you're saying it's really just about seeing a glimmer of light and
Right.
having that light lead you out. And then one of the listeners asked, how do we see the light in the situations from different perspectives?
Right. Well, I think when we start to engage in this idea of maybe, the fear starts to settle. We enter in this larger perspective, and things are going to start coming to us. It's almost like, when you sit down and you start to meditate, and all of a sudden an idea pops into your head, and you're like, why didn't I have that idea at 2 o'clock
Right.
this afternoon? It would have really helped me, right?
Right.
That's what maybe does, because again, the mind is settling, we're opening up, we have less fear, and a little light's going to come in. And then, the universe, the life sometimes gives us an answer, and sometimes we have to wait for the answer. But if we're willing to hang out in the unknown, we're going to be willing to hang out for the change, be open to the change. And because we're so open, we're going to know what to do next. We're going to see that possibility. We're going to see that opportunity. So maybe it gives you access to the light, and over time it becomes more expansive, and you're gonna see more over time. That's really what I could say, is that you
Right. You
have
just have to hang out in the, and what I'm hearing is like hanging out in the light
right,
enough so that you can see other perspectives. But if you don't hang out in that place at all, if it's just a
right.
place of darkness and
Yeah,
no light,
you're turning your back on all that's
Right.
possible. Life's not working out. Things can never change. And with
Right.
maybe, you're like, okay, I'm available for life. That's a
Right.
huge statement.
Even if it's a little thing, do you know what I
Right.
mean? If it
Yeah.
starts off as a small kernel of maybe, I think
Right.
that that's what the question is. How do we see the light in situations? It's like the little maybe can grow into a bit like
Right.
a whole range of maybes is what I
Right.
think I heard you say. Okay, what
And
if you?
also, too, this is the type of thing you must experience it for yourself. Like we're talking
That's
about it
true.
now, and you're like, okay, what is this lady talking about? But I almost guarantee if you go into your life and you're in this really horrible, stressed moment, when you start to engage in this idea, you might not feel the exact pop, but you're going to feel lighter because when you're feeling stressed and you're spinning, you've given up hope. You're looking at life from one lane. And the minute you make those lanes as two, three, four, five lanes, you're going to feel a sense of release. And I got to tell you, there's nothing better than alleviating some emotional suffering in our lives. It's a freedom, and eventually, if you practice more and more and more and more, you will live life with more freedom. You will actually liberate yourself. And like I said before, you could actually cultivate faith with this practice. And to me, that's the ultimate. I can't say, oh, I have the ultimate faith, but I have more faith today than I ever have because I've been willing to hang out in the unknown and see that
Hmm.
life has an ebb and flow and see life changes. And so the unknown doesn't frighten me. When something happened that's unexpected, I don't get my back up because I'm like, okay, well, life has maybe. I'm just going to wait this out. The
Right.
unanswered questions become our enemy. And with maybe it doesn't. With maybe we walk hand in hand with the unknown and life has more of an expansive picture. And,
Hmm.
and things keep changing. And I can almost say is that please try it. If you try
Try it,
it,
and I think you just explained it. If you
yeah,
try it and you continue to doing it like you are, you start developing faith. You start develop. I'm hearing a bunch of different things that happen if you continue the practice
right.
of living in maybe. What's your day look like when you wake up in the morning? It's like if it, like living in this way. Like, tell me about your typical morning to
Well,
evening process.
well, what's so interesting is I always say, beware of the woman that needed to write the book about maybe, because it's funny when I first started doing this, I used to sit on the radio and say, "Oh, I am no longer addicted to certainty. I might be addicted." I mean, like I said, I've cultivated more faith, but I still get hooked. And I
Yeah.
have two teenagers. I have a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old. So when I get out of bed in the morning, the first thing I do is I go right to gratitude because it just calms me down. It makes me less hysterical.
Yeah.
And,
Get the
the minute you
peaceful
wake up,
place. Yeah.
you might, I have to do this, I have to do that. But
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. But let's look at everything that is. Let's look at all the good things. Let's look at all the blessings. So immediately when my feet hit the ground, I'm already in a blessed state. I'm like, I'm looking at all that is. And then when you wake up your kids, then they start telling you everything that's not. And then all of a sudden they're late for school. Even them being late for school, you could get so hooked. They're going to be late for school. They're going to miss their class. Or they're going to not do well on their test. And with maybe just unhook, and you're like, okay, well, maybe they will be late, and maybe everything will still be okay. And all of a sudden, I feel a calmness come through me
Mm.
because I realize that, yeah, it might not be the most pleasant thing. It might not have been what I would have chosen, but doesn't mean that things can't still work out. And I think
Hmm.
that's, again, where people get hooked. So all day long, things are happening. I mean, I live in the middle of Manhattan. I could have, a cab drive over a puddle and get me
Right.
all wet. I could
Right.
have a client who forgot our call. I could, order something for lunch and it could not come on gluten-free bread. I mean, all
Right.
of these things, right? But with maybe, you kind of just, you're more in a relaxed state because these things don't seem as important.
Right.
You see life from a bigger perspective, and honestly, you're kinder, you're more open, and with more ease, you're always looking at this more expansive. You're in this more expansive states. You're always seeing more opportunity. So you're sitting there and you're like, well, maybe I could, ask the person next to me what they're having for lunch, and all of a sudden you have this great conversation with the person sitting next to you, or I can get all wet, and I can say, well, maybe I had to head home, and I could head home, and I could run into somebody else, or I could get a call that I would have missed. Like when you're willing to kind of stay in this open space and you're not getting hooked, you're going to end up having a pretty good day on most days because you're not writing the story that life's
Right,
not working out.
absolutely. The problem is the story that we created in our minds based on our past experiences. Like, well, now that taxi, now I'm going to have to go change, and I'm going to be late for my meeting, and it's all going to be awful, right? Where it
Right.
doesn't. Maybe it's not.
and maybe it's not. And even if you don't enjoy it, some things in life are not pleasant. But it doesn't mean that life doesn't have maybe and it won't change again because sometimes, we have really difficult moments. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a friend come over last year and it was when I was thinking about whether or not I was going to write my first book, which we discussed was about parenting. And her son was just diagnosed with leukemia. So we weren't going to sit around and say, "Oh, this is a great day." It was a very difficult day.
Yeah.
And she came to my house because what she said to me is, "Allison, all I have is maybe." She said, I can't be positive
Oh
because
my
I'm so
goodness.
afraid. I'm
Mm.
I'm so afraid that my son won't get better that I can't be positive. I can't. And it makes me feel guilty. All these other ideas about, the power of the law of attraction makes me feel like I attracted illness into his life. She goes, I
Oh,
can't
God.
bear any of these thoughts. But the one thing I could bear is I could bear maybe. Because in
Mm.
this moment, I could say, maybe everything is going to get better. Maybe
Mm.
we could accept this moment and find a lesson here. Maybe this moment is sucks and maybe tomorrow things will change again or maybe I'm going to go see my son this afternoon and we're going to have a beautiful cup of tea and they both love to sing. We'll sing a beautiful song. So what it did is it kind of gave her a place to stand. It was a very
Oh
painful
gosh.
moment. But
Yeah.
maybe and it's a year into it. They have a year more of treatment and she will tell you that the practice of maybe is that and gratitude are the only two things that help her unhook because some days are so tough. But maybe
Mm.
helps her say, okay, in the unknown, there's hope. In uncertainty, life will change. And in that change, my son could get healed. My son could get better. There could be a new treatment. And he's doing well right now. I mean, he has a year left of treatment, but he's able to go to school some days. But positive thinking was too hard. Everything was too hard. But maybe was actually her solid foundation to keep going.
That is
I'm
a
going to give her hope.
beautiful
So,
testament to this. We have Allison Carmen talking about the gift of maybe. That is just a beautiful story. Thank you so much for being here. Those are just beautiful stories. And thank you,
oh,
listening audience. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all the questions. Oh my God, look at all these questions. All right, thank you everyone. Have a great weekend.
all right. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
The conversation.
Thank you. That was great. Oh my
Oh,
God, you're full of energy.
oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I hope in the beginning when we were talking about, I felt maybe I wasn't clear about the business scenario. So I hope that I was able to clarify.
No,
Uh,
I think actually you were. See, I think the thing about, okay, being someone who is a worrier and control freak,
mhm.
I wanted to believe all of this, and then I actually got to, like, probably I was probably maybe two chapters away from the final, and then there was a big part of me that's just like, oh no, you don't. Like, what are you doing? You're a planner. Does this mean you don't have to plan? Does this mean like you're not going to? And it's like, and so that part of me just got overwhelmed, and I almost couldn't even read anymore because that it was like your ego, right, going like, what the hell are you doing? Don't even do this. You're not even going to be safe doing this. But then I think that that's the thing, like when people go into this space, they're going to probably hit that same natural spot. Like, does that mean I don't plan for bad stuff to happen? And so kind of I think teasing it all out help people go, oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay, 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 I get it. She's not
yeah,
saying that I don't plan. She's not saying,
yeah,
it's just that if at moment to moment you're looking at the gift of that's what I got from moment to moment. If you're looking at the gift of maybe, there's so many more possibilities, and you can be looking through the lens of love and opportunity and
right,
possibility versus fear. That's what I
right.
got, and that was it took a while because it's a complicated concept to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
because we have to
yeah.
reprogram the ways that we originally think.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, looking back, I wish I had a chapter in there saying, do I need to stop planning? I mean, it's in there, but I wish that I was more direct because that comes up a lot. But also, when you're telling people that the unexpected is going to bring them gifts and they don't have to control things as much as they thought that they needed to, like you said, it's like resistance. How could that possibly be? But goals are important. Paths are important. It's just the twists and turns, they mess us up. And if we're not in maybe, we're going to end up possibly going the wrong way or shutting down and not showing up the way that maybe, we possibly could have.
Well,
And also,
there's
again,
yeah, and there's this great story in the book, right, of a person who went bankrupt, or
right,
and or they were thinking that they were going to go bankrupt, and the
right,
accountant said, like, fold it up, go away, it's all over, and she started going down that path and getting into this like one fixed awful position, and
right,
when she went into the place of, well, maybe that accountant's wrong. I'm
right,
firing the accountant. She was fine, right? Her handbags sold, and she
right,
sold their company for $1 million or whatever. I mean,
Well, it's interesting thing about that though is that I was showing her all her financials, and her financials were fine. But because she had that fear, she couldn't even see it. Like, I mean, was it in
wow.
my idea, it was fine. Like, there was a lot of still hope and possibility. But because she was in that fear place, she couldn't even see the possibility because the accountant said, "Hey, lady, at your age, you should give the keys
Right.
back, and get the heck out." So when she embraced this idea of maybe, I actually think she was able to see her position more clearly. This accountant was an older fellow. He was more conservative. I wasn't as conservative as he was. So she was getting these two perspectives, but she wanted to sit in my perspective, but the fear wouldn't let her. So the minute she went back into maybe, she went into her ebb. And also, too, she went back to her passion. I've never seen anybody grow a business without passion. And uncertainty could kill our passion because we're so stressed, we're so worried that we lose everything. But with maybe, we can hold the passion because we're holding the hope. So, for her, it was a great success story. But again, it's interesting when you're fearful, you could see the exact same scenario a totally different way.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
but it was so nice to meet you.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rebel.
Welcome.
Bye, guys. Do you want me to send the listener questions just so you have them, or do you care?
Oh, yeah, no, it'd be great.
Okay,
I'd
I'll
love to
send
see
them.
them.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye, Allison. Bye, Rebel.
Bye.